Hi everyone. When is it enough? Or when rather is it too much? I got a question, and that is there are some guys in Canada. Hi everyone in Canada, who are running a tournament in their local area, and it's the first one they're running, and they're worried. So let me just show you what they write to me, and at the end there's a list review, and we can sort of debate in the comments about what to do. So let me just show you what's happening here. Right. So this is their message. There's an upcoming tournament in Vancouver. Um, we're trying to be relatively competitive whilst being semi-casual. That is the balance that is killing you. And that is so hard to do. Right, I'll read it and then I'll comment. So I suppose not whack or something close to that. Myself and a few other TO has received a few lists so far, and we're unsure of their strengths and are worried for inexperienced players. We're wondering if you'd be able to give it a look and see whether or not it's too much for people with no tournament experience. I've attached a list that I was thinking of bringing myself. Um, Note that this group here, Derek, they are allowing the suppressive fire rules from the Battle of Britain (GT). That is a Juggernaut Jugger Pack rule where MMGs give an automatic pin, which is really good, and you should always do that if you want to. I mean, I think it's just a really good rule, right? So that is what they're writing to me now. I have several times on this channel argued that the place to um, balance lists for a tournament is not in your pack, it is in your description of the tournament. No, rather, the description of your event. Um, if you're using the word tournament, then you're also allowing people who want to win to try and win, which means that they're going to try in their list building to optimize their chances of doing that. Um, so you should be very clear in your communication about your event, what it is, whether it's a tournament, whether it's a casual event where you don't actually get any prizes. And this is one of the key things, I think. If you want a casual tournament, which I don't believe that there is such a thing, then you shouldn't give, if you have any like sponsor gifts or prizes, you shouldn't give that to number 1, 2, and 3. I actually think you should always give it to the bottom, like the people who did the worst, because they are the ones who need encouragement, right? I think all sponsor gifts should always be given from the bottom and up. And then, yes, for the people who come there to win, there should be like a certificate or a small trophy that you can hand out and say, here, hey, your name is on this, you won, um, because that's what they're there for. So I think you should be very clear in your communication about this. And if you want a completely casual event, you should write that this is not a tournament as such. This is a casual event. Maybe you should even like state we're not running Swiss draw. We're running blue on red, and you'll be mixed up randomly with other people. Because then people will know what it is that the tone of your event is. I think the biggest mismatch happens when competitive players try to go to an event with competitive lists and inexperienced players or new players or casual players go to the same event, and these two groups can have different expectations of the event. Another thing that I think you can do is these inexperienced players, you can try and match them up. You can because you don't have to do random pairings. You can try and match them up against other people of their same skill level, which will give at least half of them a victory. in the start. And then, yes, they'll face off against someone who's better than them and lost their first round, and then they'll get beaten. But that's what happens at a tournament. So I think the main mix and the mix up here for you guys is that you're calling it a tournament and you're trying to be relatively competitive whilst being semi-casual. Um, if you want to run a tournament, and I would highly recommend viewing all your tournaments as not being whacker. Um, and I've been to the most competitive tournaments in the world, and I have yet to meet like maybe one or two people who were whackers, but mostly not. I I just don't see it. Um, and the main thing to avoid whackers is to confront them head on, saying that this is a tournament where fair play is rewarded, um, and where any infringement on like decent playing will be penalized immediately. Go and watch my videos. I have videos. I will try to link them in the description for this for tournament play for how to sort of talk to players about this. And yes, I sound like a really sour old man in that video, but I think it's important that you state these things in advance of the tournament, because what happens is that people will behave themselves. They will behave decently if you communicate clearly with them. So, Sealand Open, for instance, the last big tournament that I ran, I was being very upfront about some very, very hard choices that I was going to make. Like, if you do this, you're out of the tournament. And I had zero infringement. I didn't have a single one. I had one time where one player called me over and it's like, could you just like pull our water dice because I'm not sure if we're going too slowly. Yes, I can completely do that. Um, and they weren't. It was just the one player was thinking of a lot about what to do because he was out of his league basically, and that wasn't a problem. So yeah, I think clear communication is the way to go here. And that's before I've even taken a look at the list. Now, lists. When is it too much? Well, um, one thing I think you shouldn't do for an event is if you made the rules clear for what the list building rules are, you shouldn't then go in and point at lists and say, this is too good. You shouldn't bring this. That I think is just that sours everyone's mood. That really sucks when people do that, and I've had it done to me, and it wasn't fun at all. Um, Especially because this one event where uh, the list I had sent in got rejected, but the list another player had sent in, who was just as good as me, just as competitive, was not rejected. So I felt like it was me that was being rejected and not my list. And I didn't understand why it was rejected because there was no clear rules for what they would reject or not. I had completely stuck to the rules for the list building, but of course my list was better than everyone else's, they thought. Um, so they didn't want it. Anyways, let's go and check out the list that Derek has sent to me. By the way, Derek, thank you so much for the email. If you guys want, I will definitely give you guys shout outs or coverage of the event itself. Um, so just, let me in, let me see what you got, and especially let me in and see lists. That goes for everyone who use my channel. If you want me to cover your events, I need early access to lists and everything basically, and results as well. Um, but I will do if you can give me that. Right, let's go and check out his list here. There we go. And this is Operation Langley Storm 2.0. So this is the list that Derek himself thought about bringing. It's a 17 order dice list for 1,000 points. 17 order dice is good and high. Most good tournament lists try to be from 14 to 15 order dice. 17 is a little high. So there is something going on here where it's deviating from the competitive norm, if that's a thing. Um, he's bringing an inexperienced second lieutenant, good competitive choice. Regular six-man units, these are skirmishers. That is not overpowered at all. Bringing skirmish infantry is good, especially if you know how to use it, but it's not uh, something that you would like say this is very competitive. At the end of this video, I'll give you guys a ranking for this list, so you see where I would sort of evaluate this list. Right. So 2 skirmish units here, perfectly fine. Free forward observer with an extra man. A paratrooper section with submachine guns. That is a 5-man section, 3 submachine guns. That's good. Royal Engineers, 5-man section with flamethrower. Royal Engineers, 5-man section with a flamethrower. So 2 flamethrowers. Um, I don't see much wrong with this. I can already sort of tell where this is going. Notice the size here. I think we're going to see Bren carriers somewhere down further in the list. Vengeance. Yes, Vengeance is what you need for this. This is not an assault list. This is a list where you need. I think you're going to see Bren carriers, and if you do, you're going to take a lot of pins. So you need Vengeance because you need to get rid of those pins. Medium machine gun team, inexperienced, that is the competitive choice to do. If you're running the Jugger pack, take the medium machine gun team because it's a free pin on whatever they shoot at. That really makes machine guns worth it. And if you can take them inexperienced, hey, you might hit with the hits as well, right? So that will mean 2 pins. The hits are just an extra bonus. The free, like assured pin is what really makes this worth it. Medium mortar, inexperienced. Good, 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 good. Sniper team, regular. Peer team, regular. SAS Jeep. Ooh, that's a good choice. Ah, here we come. Brain carrier, brain carrier, brain carrier. Yes, 3 brain carriers. A Jeep and a Darker Stewart. Yes. A really nice list. This is a pseudo tank list. This is what I mean when I say pseudo tank list. He puts his engineers and paratroopers in the Bren carriers, and now he has basically 4 small tankish vehicles that can all split fire and deliver pins to the enemy. So this is a good list. This is a really good list. Can you do better? Yes. Um, can you do better with Brits as well? Yes, you possibly can. Um, so for me, this is not a 5. This is sort of this is a strong competitive list. I would say this is a 3.5, maybe a 4, maybe a 4. Um, but since it's vulnerable to pins, I would say more 3.5-ish. So it's not overpowered. It's a good competitive list, and it's a list that you would bring to a tournament if you would want to try and win. Um, would a noob have a chance against this? Yes, definitely. But he would have to know, this inexperienced player would have to know that it's pin vulnerable. Yes, you have vengeance to get rid of pins, but all of these brain carriers are something where if you shoot some like small arms fire at them, they're going to take pins, and they are going to give those pins to the engineers inside, which is going to stop the engineer rush, right? So it is possible to fight against this, and these are vulnerable to all AT guns, right? The Jeep is of course for the Piat here. So yes, you could up the deadliness of this list, but I mean the engineers are even the veteran engineers, so they're not like regular engineers. If I think it's fine, it's a 3.5. And yes, if you're fighting against someone inexperienced, just tell them about your list, tell them about the weaknesses, and then have a game where you possibly win. But I guarantee you, it will not necessarily be because of the list. What we're seeing is in matchups is that the player is more important than the list. Yes, the list do have an effect on how you do in a game, but they are um, not as meaningful as the player's skill. So it's very rare. Maybe you'll face an army where they are very vulnerable to pins themselves, and you deliver like, and your list is perfect for that, and you deliver all the pins because you can split fire with everything, right? So you deliver all the pins and you win because of pins. But then that's a rock paper scissors thing, right? Where your army just happens to find the perfect match for it, and that happens. Right. So this was a long rant. I hope you find it useful, and good luck to everyone going to that event. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully, also about Operation Langley. Cheers.